Well, welcome everyone. It's 10:30, so we'll get started with week 3, staying active as we age. I'm Christine Murphy, interim coalition coordinator for Nevada County Falls Prevention Coalition and older adult exercise specialist. I have here with me my fabulous co-hosts, Peter Stack and Paul Hunt. We'll learn more about Paul later when he educates us on heart health and exercise. Peter, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Well, good morning, and thank you for coming. I've been with the Falls Prevention Coalition for maybe 10 to 11 years. I joined them after I came back here to our area after taking care of my mother for 11 years. And so I knew about falling. And so I learned a lot about fall prevention. So I went into in-home care. I still work for Partners in Care, which is in-home care specialists, and also hospice and comfort care services. And so that comes in on Nevada County and Yuba counties. So the fall prevention has been very important to me because I can express more about falling because of my experiences in falling. And so we've learned a lot about that. So it's a big part of our county. So.
Great, thanks. So we'll begin today with a vignette from one of our Falls Coalition friends sharing with us some tips on how we can reduce fall risk. Then we'll turn it over to Paul, exercise physiologist, who will educate us on why it's important to move those bodies, keep those hearts healthy. And we'll wrap up with an exercise video. You can type any questions you have in the chat. And let's get started with a vignette. All right. Here we go.
Hello? Is anybody there? Hi, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. My name is Courtney Ferguson, and I've worked with Gold Country Senior Services for 14 years. One of the best parts of my job is getting to know our senior clients personally. Hearing their life stories is always fascinating. Hearing about the falls they take is upsetting, especially when so many falls don't ever need to happen. Did you know that 80% of senior falls occur at night, often on the way to the bathroom? That's one of many eye-opening statistics I've learned from my friends at the Falls Prevention Coalition. And we don't want you to be a statistic. So let's look at several simple ways, easy things that you can do to help keep you safe. Besides being a source of light, flashlights, for most of us, bring back memories. How many of you read comic books when you were a kid? I loved them, especially Archie and Wonder Woman. What I really enjoyed were those Ever-Ready battery ads at the back. Remember them? They were so dramatic, with campers lost in the snow or sailors adrift in a life raft on a raging sea. The lesson was always the same. Flashlights helped save their lives. All these years later, that fact is still true. They can save your life. So why not have one on your nightstand? That's a good starting point. Make sure the batteries are ready for action if we're having a power outage. But there are other easy steps you can take. For example, check your bedding. If you have a heavy bedspread, that can easily entrap your legs and your feet if you're trying to get up at night. So before you retire, why not fold the bedspread over a chair? That way, it's nowhere near your feet should you have to get up. How many of you wear socks to bed when it's cold? Think about this. Socks, while they keep your feet warm, they can also be slippery. So why not have a pair of rubber-backed slippers, not far from your bed, that will give you better stability? Another good thing you can do is check all the obstacles between your bed and the bathroom. Open drawers or a closet door that's ajar would be so easy to walk into and fall. Make sure they're closed and your pathway is clear. Loose electrical cords and throw rugs can also be hazardous, especially if you're not fully awake. Remember, as our eyes age, they don't adjust so efficiently from dark to light, so be patient. In the bathroom, it's a good idea to have grab bars installed in your bathtub or shower and by your toilet. Not only do they help keep you stable, but they give you a good feeling of confidence that's so important, especially if you live alone. Think about your bath mats too. Do any of you have those light, fluffy, slippery ones? If so, get rid of them and instead replace them with the rubber-backed smooth mats that will stay in place and help keep you safe. Another hazard can be our much-loved pets. While they bring us wonderful companionship, if they're underfoot, they can be lethal, so make sure they're out of the way. A very dear friend of mine, June, was 2 days from celebrating her 90th birthday, and she took a terrible fall. Highly intelligent, fiercely independent, she did not have her phone with her, so she couldn't call for help. We were to meet for lunch the next day. When she didn't show up, I was concerned and phoned her home. No answer, so I phoned her son, who immediately went over to his mother's house to find her on the bathroom floor. She had to be rushed to the hospital with a broken hip. Now, I'm sharing this story not to upset you or worry you, just the opposite. I want to encourage you to be your own best advocate and a smart risk assessor. If you have a medical alert device, wear it. If you rely on your cell phone, keep it with you. Also, stay in touch with friends and family. Let them know what your movements are going to be, what your day is looking like, and how you're feeling. If you're not feeling 100%, that enables them to stay in touch with you. Remember, maturity becomes less about our independence and more about our safety. That's a good mindset to own and a good guideline to follow. There are many more tips available to help keep you safe, and you can learn more about them when you visit the Falls Prevention Coalition website. Let me read you the address. This is challenging, so I'll say it slowly. www.supportsierranevada.org/Falls Prevention Coalition. Or you can phone them at 530-274-6739. I'll close with another little bit of nostalgia. Do you remember reading Nancy Drew mystery stories? She was my hero. A 20-something gutsy sleuth who solved many a crime in the shadows of an old attic or an abandoned cabin. She was never without her flashlight, and many a time it saved her life. Maybe all these years later, your flashlight might help save your life too. Let's do what it takes to stay smart and safe throughout our lives. You take good care of yourself, please, and thanks so much for joining us.
Great. So wonderful. Thanks, Courtney. Wonderful storyteller.
Quite a prolific writer as well.
Yeah, she is an author. Very wonderful person. I think she's on the line. So glad you got to see that, Courtney. All right, at this point, I will turn it over to our very special guest, Paul Hunt, who will tell us about heart health and how we can stay healthy. And Paul, please tell us a little about yourself. And here you go, all you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Paul. I work at Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital. Whenever you see somebody working there, they always have a different colored shirt or uniform, and this kind of burgundy color, which might be hard to distinguish against the light behind me. But the burgundy color represents a therapist of some sort. I'm not a physical therapist specifically. I'm what's known as an exercise physiologist. So I work in a program called cardiac rehabilitation, where we work with people who have heart disease and they meet specific diagnosing criteria to enter into our program. And then we have as many as 36 total weeks available of exercise rehab. So I have a bachelor's from Chico State. I have a master's from Chico State. I'm also certified as a clinical exercise physiologist, which isn't always necessary, but it's a good thing to achieve. But just to clarify, I'm not a physical therapist. So I don't typically work with people that would necessarily, clients or patients that would necessarily be struggling with balance, because cardiac exercise is not always typically, balance isn't always a problem. It's much more, inward than necessarily your bones and joints and muscles and nerves being a problem. That's more of what a physical therapist does, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So there are different ways in which our bodies respond with our blood pressure and our heart rate, and all of these things, playing in how fast we move, how slow we move, how deliberate and careful we are, can absolutely play a factor in our cardiac health, and our cardiac health can play a factor in risks for falling as well. It's just a matter of how we go about it. So I prepared a slideshow for us to review, and I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through a little bit of this. And I'll be providing a little bit of voiceover. It's nothing prepared as far as a video. I'll just be talking about them as we go through them. I'm assuming everybody can still hear me. Is this the case?
We're good to go.
Okay. Good to go.
So we're going to go from the beginning. So in general, we're going to talk about the structure of what a cardiac workout might look like as far as building up our cardiac health, our heart health. Heart and lungs always work in conjunction. So imagine that all of this that you're seeing here is actually just your blood flowing through your arteries, through your veins, and all the way through your body. Blood comes from our heart, it goes up into our brain, and then up into the rest of our body, and it comes back into the heart through the veins, out to the arteries. So let's get started. Let's go over the basic structure of what a cardiac workout might look like, because cardio exercise is very different than if you were to do physical therapy exercises that might promote functional mobility and strength and balance. It's different, and the main difference is actually in the form of duration. So duration being time spent exercising and continuous movement. So the first thing that we do is we do warm-up stretches. And in every cardiac rehab session, this is about the first 5 to 10 minutes. It just depends on how much time we have in between classes and how much time we have left for the class, which is usually an hour. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we're a little strapped for time. But the idea is that we always warm up our muscles before we work out. So we need to promote blood flow. Our heart rate needs to increase. The blood pressure should increase a little bit, just a little bit. Dynamic stretching is a form of stretching that is based around total joint motions rather than I'm holding a stretch for 30 seconds. So as opposed to doing something like this and stretching my arm across my body, I would be going like this and warming up my shoulders, that, or I'm warming up my wrists and so forth. I'm warming up my elbows. So the idea is to promote more joint motion and more ranges of motion, but it's more like gliding than holding. So we do big joint motions and they warm up the muscles, they warm up the joints, and we do those for about 5 minutes to 10 minutes. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration. I'm going to flip my laptop the other way now that there's no 1-year-old baby out here right now. And I will do a quick demonstration. So as it says, we'll start from the ankles and we'll move up to the shoulders. So I always start the ankle rotations. I do my knee kicks. I swing my hips. So the important thing to consider when you're doing this, if you saw very briefly, I held on to the corner of my sofa right there. So if you're doing stretches with your lower body, either do them in a chair or hold on to something while you do them and start slow. There's no reason to go fast. The idea is to start slow and progress as you tolerate. That does not mean that you have to go through every one of the stretches that I just did. And you don't have to do these, and you don't have to do this with your shoulders. It's just a matter of how you feel, but the idea is to get your heart rate up and to loosen the joints and promote blood flow. All right, so now we get into exercise. So exercise is different from physical activity in one very specific way. Physical activity is what I'm doing right now with my hands. This is technically physical activity. It's just something I'm doing. But exercise is a specific form of physical activity. It's just purposeful and it's planned. So if I'm going to plan to walk on the treadmill or ride my recumbent bike, or I plan on swimming in a pool for 5 to 10 minutes, for 5 to 10 minutes, it has to be for a purpose and it has to be planned to be considered exercise. It's always a whole body movement when you're considering cardiac activity, except if you're doing something like cycling. That's not a whole body movement. You're not always moving your arms or your upper body when you're, riding a bicycle or something like that. There are also arm cycles that people use, and you're not moving your lower body, but essentially your blood is pumping and it's circulating through your whole body. And the idea is that we aren't fatiguing the muscles with really heavy resistance training. We are promoting the kind of training that takes place over time. And so that's why the goal for your total time for a workout would be 30 minutes. And keep in mind, that's just a goal. That doesn't mean that it's the first thing that you should do. This is the long-term goal for I'm going to try to do 30 minutes of total time. You could do 5 minutes, and then you could do that another hour later. You could do another 5 minutes, and another hour later, another 5 minutes, and so on and so forth. It's just a matter of trying to achieve that time per day, rather than saying, I need to exercise all 30 minutes, all right at one time. That's actually very difficult, especially if you're exercising really intensely for 30 minutes. That's very hard to keep up. And at a certain intensity, you can't do it. Most people can't do it. So The goal for the total time is 30 minutes of exercise, which means 30 minutes of continuous motion, but you can still break it up into different periods of time. 3 to 5 days a week is optimal for heart health. It's around 90 to 150 total minutes per week is what is recommended from the American Heart Association and the American College of Sports Medicine, which is who I have my certification through. But the American Heart Association and the ACSM work together to create these guidelines and recommendations. So if anybody has any more questions about this, we can talk about it later, but I'm going to move forward real fast. So in cardiac exercise, another important thing to consider is cooling down. So many of our patients are very confused about what this means because, you know, you finish exercising, well, I'm done exercising, but you're still breathing hard. That means that if you're still breathing hard, imagine that your blood is flowing through your body. And what happens if all of a sudden you're working at this really high intensity and all of a sudden you just stop and you slow down and you don't keep moving? What can happen is you can become short of breath, you can become dizzy, you can become a little faint and lightheaded, and your blood pressure can drop rapidly. So it's really important to continue cooling down because that'll help your recovery heart rate start to come into effect. So as you can see on the last little box here, your heart rate is elevated and so is your blood pressure. It's time to bring it back down to resting levels. So we have to keep moving, just slow down from what you were previously doing. But don't walk in mud, because if you're walking in mud, that means you're struggling too much to keep moving. So we're not walking in slow motion, we're just slowing down from what our pace was before so that we can recover. And that is kind of where it really comes into play with preventing falls. There's a lot of people that don't cool down and they just stop. Either they sit down or they stand and they get a little loopy. So the next thing we're going to go over is cool down stretching. So if we're doing cool down stretching, this would be an example of crossing my arm over. So I cross my arm over, I hold it straight out, my thumb is up, I cross, I reach over, and if this hurts too much on the shoulder, another way to adapt it is like reaching across into your pocket, something that's easier for your shoulder to sustain. And then all you do is you reach underneath the arm, pull on the elbow, just like so, and that's going to stretch out the back of my shoulder. If I wanted to do another one, depending on if your shoulders can take it, you could reach over and back like so, and reach up to your elbow. This. So the idea is to bring more warmth and more muscle fibers, more blood to more muscle fibers, and we are loosening the muscles and decreasing stress on the joints. And then it also decreases your blood pressure and your heart rate from where you were during exercise. Some other ones that we might do in cardiac rehab. I am actually a huge fan of doing this, but I want you to be very careful with this stretch, but I will still demonstrate it for you. This stretch is a physical therapy stretch that I learned when I was working in a physical therapy office. So what I do, let me know if you can't see me fully. What you do is you sit towards the edge of the chair, and your heel is on the floor, and your knee is relatively straight, but you don't want it to be bent, but you also don't want it to be locked out. So there's a little bit of give in your knee, and your toes come up as if you're going to lift from pushing down on the clutch or the gas or the brake. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit straight up and just barely lean forward while I'm lifting my toes. So this stretch is called nerve flossing. When which is a really fancy way of saying you are elongating the muscles and the nerves in the back of the legs and in the lower back so that there's more resting stimulation in your nerves rather than excitability. I'll stop the share real quick. Does anyone have any questions about that stretch? That can be a little confusing. Or did you want to address these later, Christine?
We can we have time for some questions if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if we have any.
Not so far.
Okay, so I'll keep going then.
Yeah.
So I'm almost done. So once we're done with our cool down stretches, after we finished our cool downs, the other thing that we practice in cardiac rehab is what's called purposeful relaxation. Sometimes it can be called mindfulness, others call it meditation, but meditation is more of a specific art and practice rather than trying to find a time to just sit with your eyes closed in a quiet space. Like I'm looking at my backyard out here, and if we weren't on the call, I might just sit here for 5 minutes thinking to myself, that's a nice backyard. And that would help me decompress from my workout, from where I just was in my elevation of heart rate and blood pressure, and now I'm bringing it back down. And that helps you not only center yourself physically, but especially physiologically, and it helps you really steady your breathing from the exercise that you just endured. So the most important part of that component is practicing deep breaths and steady breaths rather than breathing in an elevated way. So this is, I know this slide is a little different than the other ones in terms of how much writing there is on it, but there's a reason for it. So the other slides, they were based on, if you remember at the very beginning, the structure of a cardiac workout, how it looks, and then what we do at the hospital in cardiac rehab. So we want to promote cardiac health, but we want to prevent falls. And how does agility factor into this? Agility is less of a health-related component of physical activity and exercise than it is a skill, because mostly agility is used in terms of exercise training to promote athletics and things like that. But agility is actually extremely important in preventing a fall. As you can see here on the second spaced bullet point here, it's a brief, very brief, and a quick movement. So the more agile you are, the more that you can prevent any falls. So the way I want you to think about this is when a baby is learning how to walk, because my 1-year-old has learned how to walk but sometimes he's learning how to walk backwards and he's learning how to turn, and all of a sudden he might start to fall, but then he catches himself. And he catches himself by having a very, if he's walking and walking, he does a quick movement, and that's his foot planting a little further outside in order to give him a wider base of support so that he prevents the fall. So the quicker you are, the more you can prevent the fall, but practicing this can be very difficult. So heart rate is how fast your heart is beating, and blood pressure is how much resistance is against the blood flow in your arteries and your vessels. What happens when you're training agility, you would never want to train an agility motion for 30 minutes. It's too fast, it's too intense. It's going to raise your heart rate, it's going to raise your blood pressure in much more quick succession and in one motion than a cardiac workout. It's a very, very different response. And it makes you much more prone to falling if you're not careful with how you do this. So I'm not necessarily recommending you do this, but if you have a trainer or if you have physical therapist that you go see, maybe ask them about how this kind of exercise and motion and training can help you prevent falls in the future. As you can see here, they spike your heart rate and blood pressure. The next thing we have to consider is if any of you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure, especially low blood pressure. If any of you know that you have a blood pressure that is considered low, and there's not really a cutoff for that in terms of values, but anything that's, we go by anything that's under 100 on the top number and anything that's kind of around 50 or below 60 on the bottom number. So in the 90s over 50s, that's typically kind of low, and usually that has to do with dehydration. So having a little water will bring those numbers up. But if it's something that you're dealing with in a chronic way, hypotension and moving fast like this in an agility factor can lead to you falling that much easier, because hypotension and low blood pressure usually means that you have some kind of lightheadedness and there's not enough blood pressure pumping blood effectively into your brain. So it would be best to ask a doctor or a physical therapist or somebody who is an exercise professional that you actively work with, how best to train these things and the interplay with cardiac health, because it's really important to consider in preventing falls in this manner too, which is why in the introduction video that we watched, the vignette, the main thing I took away from that is patience. So when you sit up and you get out of bed in the middle of the night, you go from dark to light, take your time, be patient. And it's the same thing with moving. If you're changing positions, especially from lying down to sitting up to standing, be patient and take your time. There's no rush. The most important thing you can do is focus on your health. So falling is always a risk, but training agility is going to help you with this, but you have to be extremely careful with how you train it. I do not recommend you perform agility motions without having your blood pressure be around normal levels. Because if it's lower than that, you're already putting yourself at an increased risk. And the normal level for blood pressure would be around 120 over 80. Hypertension and high blood pressure, it can be a little, you can still train agility movements, but I would prefer, in terms of my recommendation for all of you, if any of you were to come to our program, I would say I would prefer, before we train motions like this, that your blood pressure be more around 120 over 80, somewhere around there, so that the risk is less, because your blood pressure will increase. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you. Great information. Oh, we have a question from Doug. Hi, Paul. Does the hospital have classes post cardio rehab? I lost it. There we go. Classes post cardio rehab considering COVID.
Hi, Doug. So the hospital offers what we call the maintenance program. And it's very difficult to get into because there are only so many spots. It's still in the cardiac rehab department. It's just, you're not on the monitor anymore. So you don't have the EKG hooked up to you anymore. It does offer those classes, but right now we're closed. When we reopen, I have no idea when that's going to be. I actually have no idea when that's going to be. We do offer that maintenance cardiac rehab training program. I think it's $75 a month. If you ever needed a monitor, you would be placed. If you ever wanted to be placed on a monitor, we could certainly do that. The EKG monitor, but right now we don't have that just because we're closed. But in normal times, yes, we do have it.
Hopefully soon.
There's another question I see here from Stephen. What's an example of an agility training exercise?
So an agility training exercise, a good one to do from sitting to would be sitting to standing, actually. That would be a good agility training exercise. And we'll go over that a little bit more next week in terms of how to properly do a sit to stand, because it's different than if you're just going to do a normal squat. But if you're going to focus on something, changing in direction or simply stepping to the side really fast would be a good way to do that. So even if I'm just sitting here, I'm just sitting here in my chair. And a good way of doing this would just be step out really fast like that. And all I'm doing is focusing on stepping up, stepping out. Same thing if I'm standing, I'm turning, but then I'm stepping fast, things like that. The idea is to move quickly, but make it really brief and not make it too intense. But that would be, those are really good examples of agility training that might help you establish a neurological pathway from your spinal cord to your legs to just promote that motion, and you wouldn't even think about it later on. The idea is to react. The idea isn't to think about preventing necessarily. You think about preventing before you're in the moment and your body senses that you're going to be off balance, and it just reacts. So that kind of training seems kind of unintuitive in that way, but the idea is to promote reaction timing.
Great, thank you. That's a great segue to our next portion. Thank you so much, Paul. That was really informative. Thank you so much. Appreciate your knowledge and your perspective.
I'd never even heard of agility training before.
Who knew? Awesome. Well, the next portion, we'll have our weekly exercise video. So this video has 13 minutes of warm up in the chair that will be familiar to you if you've attended the last couple of weeks. Then the next segment is 10 minutes of movements, and several of which were just described. So to kind of boost that agility and cardio health, but just the 10-minute part, because we know we don't want to go into too intense off the bat. Then this video closes down with 7 minutes of stretching in the chair. If you're looking for a workout that more closely mirrors what Paul described to us in terms of a 5 to 10 minute warm up, followed by a longer duration and then a cool down, you can visit me on YouTube on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 11 a.m. and you'll get something that reflects more of that a little bit longer. So this is a nice little introduction just to kind of get you warmed up. So and we'll be running a little bit late. I hope you can stay till the end. We'll be around for your questions, and I'll now share the exercise video. And here we go. Hello, I'm Christine Murphy, and I specialize in exercise for older adults. In 2014, I founded SeniorWell.org, hoping to provide inspiration and information to enhance your well-being. Since then, I've taught over 700 classes and workshops to older adults, and I'm so happy that you've chosen to join us for this session. Whether you've been active your entire life or you're just beginning today, it's never too late to get healthier. Small changes can add up to large health improvements in mood, memory, strength, and balance. Thank you for taking time to improve your health. You're worth it. This is one in a series of videos produced by the Nevada County Falls Prevention Coalition, designed to help you stay strong, active, and independent. Since 2006, the Falls Prevention Coalition, a program of Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital Foundation, has provided stimulating educational events and opportunities to Nevada County residents in pursuit of its mission to reduce the risk of falls through education, and vision of creating a community that empowers seniors and people with disabilities to reduce their risk of falling, thereby enhancing their quality of life and maintaining their independence. Prior to beginning an exercise program, please keep yourself safe. If you've been advised by a doctor not to exercise, please consult with them before doing anything. It's also a good idea to check with a doctor before exercising if you feel unsteady on your feet, have dizzy spells, or a chronic or unstable health condition such as heart disease, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, or diabetes. Please keep in mind, all of my instructions are only suggestions. Don't do any move that a doctor told you not to do or that you know your body wouldn't like. Be sure to wear safe, non-skid footwear and take breaks to sip water frequently and stay hydrated. Dehydration contributes to dizziness, weakness, and can increase fall risk. Many of the exercise will be performed from a seated position, and most standing exercises can be performed from a seated position if needed. Please keep a chair, counter, or assistive device nearby to support your balance as needed. We're ready to begin our workout. We'll start by thoroughly warming up our bodies in the chair, and then, if you choose, moving to a standing position for some fun cardio drills that will boost agility and your heart health. Let's go. All right, let's begin by getting comfortable in our seats. You may notice I have a block underneath my feet to help me feel a little more comfortable when I'm seated. I'm gonna make sure my ankles are underneath my knees. My shoulders are over my hips. My ears are over my shoulders. Neck is long, chin is level. And check to make sure that weight is equal on the right and left sitting bones. Proper posture puts us in the correct position for deep belly breathing, the healthiest thing you can do for your body all day long. Simply breathe in and out without changing anything. Breathing. If you ever find yourself to be stressed or under tension, you might notice yourself holding your breath. If you want, you can place your hand on your belly. Feel it rise as you inhale and fall as you exhale. Filling our air with fresh, clean oxygen and exhaling out any toxins or impurities. Feel your belly rise. It inflates like a balloon as you fill your lungs with air. And then exhale, using your muscles to squeeze out any stale or old air from the bottom of your lungs. Next, we'll do some bellows breaths to clear our lungs some more. So if you're a lady, please have your right hand underneath. If you're a gentleman, the left. And we'll begin to purge our lungs. Great job. Let's further purge our heart and lungs now. With our hands at heart center, we'll begin to do some fountain breathing. Inhale in, keeping that nice good posture, and then exhale and blow it out. Great job. One more time. How about a nice slow inhale in, and then an even slower exhale out. That'll stimulate our vagus nerve, eliciting a relaxation response in our body. One more time. Good job. Let's begin to add some gentle movement now. On your next exhale, let your chin gently tip towards your chest. Inhale and rise. Now we have a motto around here. It's no pain, no pain. So if anything hurts, please discontinue that movement immediately. Inhale and exhale. How about a look right and left? Things we do every day, nod our head yes and no, look to the side, checking out our surroundings. How about a little semicircle? Let that chin gently roll back and forth across your chest, nice and slow. If you feel yourself getting dizzy, just slow it down a little bit. How about a full circle? All right, letting everything open up naturally and gradually. Other direction. How about an ear to one shoulder? Relax. Let any stress or tension just melt away. Inhale, rise, other side. And back to center. Let's begin to take our movement out to our shoulders now. Lifting one and then the other. And then both at once. I don't know, do you know? And now full circles. First one direction. And then the other. Oh yeah, loosening up those muscles. Great job. Can you grab a stirring stick for me, please? And stir up some nice thick liquid. Don't forget to breathe. Other direction. Oh, it's thick. You gotta engage those stomach muscles to get it going. Are you stirring up something good to eat? Now give yourself an inhale in. Exhale down. One more time. Let's warm up those hands. Place them at heart center, then begin to roll them. Half of the joints in our bodies are in our hands and feet, so let's give them some love. Other direction. Out to the side, gently circle your wrists. First one direction, then the other. Give them a lower lift. And then make a fist. Squeeze up those hands. Drop anything you don't need. Just drop it on the ground. All right, you're doing great. How about some water? You getting thirsty yet? Okay, taking our warm up a little deeper now. Let's warm up our chest. Hands at heart center. Inhale and open up. Exhale, close, shut. Inhale, open, nice and wide. Exhale, close it down. A couple more just like that. Last time. Now we'll inhale, lift, and rise. Circle around. Keep that nice deep breath flowing. Couple more. All right, last one. Now place your hands on your thighs and begin to circle around, warming up our spines. And then other direction. Any size, shape, or speed works just fine. It's your body, your workout. Now we're going to do some seated cat and cow yoga. So inhale, lift, that's the cow. Imagine a cow with a sagging belly. And then exhale,
Make your back round like a scary black cat on Halloween. Inhale up, exhale down. How about one more time? All right, good job. Inhale, lengthen. Now pick a side and twist. Take a look behind your shoulder. Come back to center, inhale, lengthen. Take a peek the other way. All right, is your upper body feeling kind of warm? Let's work on the lower body. Please pick a foot and lift it and start to point, flex, circle, squeeze, any way you wish. Wake up those feet. Place that foot on the ground, other foot up. Circle, point, flex, squeeze, whatever it takes. Great job, sit up now. Start to squeeze your calves, lift those heels. Hello, calves. Squeeze some muscle, some blood in there. Let's wake up our hips now. Gently step out as if you're stepping out of a car. Out and in, if you want, you can use your belly to help propel it. I like to squeeze my belly button towards my spine to engage my core. That will help to protect your lower back throughout the workout. Couple more. Are you having fun? I hope so, I am. Great job. Next, we're going to do some seated sun salutation yoga poses. So when you're ready, inhale, gently hug your knee just as close as is comfortable. Exhale forward. Inhale, look up. And then exhale, extend and look up like a cobra in the grass. Inhale, exhale, inhale. Extend and look up. This is a full body workout right here in the chair. See? You can do this anywhere. It takes no special equipment, no special clothing, just the willingness to move. Inhale, knee to chest. Exhale, forward. Inhale. Look up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Extend and look up. How about one more time each side? Last time up. Roll up nice and slow. Give yourself some shoulder rolls. Scan your body. You need any shake, shimmy, wiggle? A little bit of water. Great job. Let's wake up our feet some more. Tap it right and left with one foot. Other side. Tapping right and left. We're waking up those feet. And now, gently cross one leg over and just reach forward. Here's a nice low back stretch. Inhale and exhale. Rise up, gently uncross your ankle over your ankle if your leg doesn't want to go up on top of your other leg. Just do what you can. Inhaling and exhaling. Great job. Prop up your leg. Reach forward, stretching our hamstrings, the back of our legs. Release, other leg up. Just waking up those muscles. Up a little right, left. Give yourself a few deep breaths. We're gonna work a little bit harder on the next song. Doing something we all do every day. Most of you, I'm sure, probably do. Standing up out of a chair. Very important to mobility, But let's take a break for some water first. Now we're going to do some moves that'll boost our agility and our cardiovascular health. So we'll start by waking up those feet by pointing front, side, and back. You've got it. Front, side, back, together. Hold on to a chair if you need to. Back, together. A couple more times like that. Back, together. Front, side, back, together. Front, back. Last time. Front, side, back, together. How about wide, wide, narrow, narrow? That's called a V-step. You can imagine it would look like a V if there were lines being traced under our feet. Wide, wide, narrow, narrow. Or a few more like that. Pause here. Other foot. Out, out, in, in. If you would like it to be a little more challenging, you can raise your arms up. That'll cause your heart to work a little harder, pumping the blood up. And those hands over your head. To the side. Again, wide, wide, narrow, narrow. Other side. You're breathing deeply, right? Hold here, change coming. Toe and heel. A little rocking horse. Other side. Toe, heel. A few more. Tap to the side. Out, 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 out. Now 4 on one side. 4, 3, 2. Other side. 4, 3, 2. Back to singles. Out, 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 out. V-step. Out, out, in, in. To the side. Other side. V-step. Hold here and kick, kick, or point. 3, 2. Other sides. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job. All right, this is a skater step. Stepping side to side. You can add a snap if you want. We'll hold it here for a bit. Let's walk it forward. Up, 2, 3, 4, and back. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and back. 2, 3, 4. Up and back. Couple more. Up, 2, 3, 4, and back. 2. Last time, forward, up, and back. Skater step. Doing the movements we perform every day, just a little bit extra, it's going to boost our endurance and our agility. Are you smiling? I hope so. Walk it forward. Up, 2, 3, 4, and back. 2, 3. Up and back. Up and back. You got it. Up and back. Last time up. Skater set. Travel forward. Up. Are you switching out which leg you walk first with? I hope so. It's good to keep things nice and even. Not have a favored side. That can create muscular imbalances. And muscular imbalances can lead to falls. Skater set. Tap to the side. 4, 3, 2. Other way. 4, 3, 2. Skater set. Open up your hip. Tap it side to side. Other direction. Give yourself a hand. Good job. We're going to start with a grapevine here. So it looks like this. Step behind, step, and step together. Again, step behind, step together. You got it. One more. Hold it here, reach up and back. Up and back. Up and back. And back. Last one. Come to the center, turn the other way. Reach up and back. Up and back. Last one now, wash your hair. Wash your back. Lunge one direction and forward. And back. Reach out and get it. Other side, down. Reach back. Down and back. Down and back. One more. Grapevine. Last grapevine. Now reach up and back. Up and back. 3, 2, and 1. Come to the center. Turn the other way. Reach. Up and back. Up and back. Last one. Come to the center. Wash your hair. Wash your back. Lunge this direction. One more. Other way. Down and back. And back. One more. Good job. Grapevine. Last one here, reach back. Good for balance, agility, and getting that heart rate up. One more reach, up and back, come to center, twist, other way, reach. Good job. All right, it's time to do some stretching and cool down those muscles. So we will begin by pivoting around on our chair with one cheek on the chair and one cheek off the chair. This is going to stretch out our hip flexor. And breathe. If you like, you can take the lower arm, cross it over your leg, and give yourself a slight twist. Take some nice deep breaths and relax those muscles. It takes at least 20 seconds for the muscle to relax. Muscles are the armor of our bones, and they're there to protect us in the event of a fall. So we have to send the signal to stretch for quite a few seconds before the muscle will relax and actually stretch out. And pivot around. And gently press on your inner thighs. Take a look over one shoulder. And the other. Can I get a little volume on that, please? Other cheek on, other cheek off. Take some nice deep breaths. Time to relax. Took your lower arm last time and crossed it over your leg. You can do so on this side. Take several deep breaths. Wonderful work. Pivot around, prop up one leg, and gently reach forward until you feel a slight bit of tension in the back of your thigh, your hamstring. Take several deep breaths here. Typically we hold the poses, the stretches for 3 to 5 breaths, but of course you're free to exit a pose at any time that you wish. Rise up, gently cross either ankle over ankle or maybe ankle over knee and reach forward. That will stretch out your gluteus maximus. One more breath. Rise up, gently uncross, prop up your other leg, reach forward, and take several deep breaths. Stretching out the hamstring of our other leg. One more breath. Rise up, now cross either ankle over ankle or ankle over knee, whatever works for you, and reach forward till you feel a gentle stretch in your gluteus maximus. That rear end. One more breath. Gently rise up, uncross, beginning to stretch our upper body. You can reach behind, hold on to your chair, or if your arms are able to link up, you could hold on and gently open up your chest, lift that chin. Take a few deep breaths. One more breath. And release. Now reach forward and dive between those arms, reaching forward. First with one arm on top, then the other. And now I'd like you to please reach scooch around and pat yourself on the back for doing a great job in class. Give yourself a hug for being an exceptional human. And take it to eagle arms stretch if you like. Open it up. Other arm on top. Pat, pat, exceptional humans. Eagle arms if you like. All the while deep breathing. Take one arm across, stretch out those shoulders. Reach one arm up behind, the other below, and open up those chests. Gently release, send your other shoulder across for a stretch. Reach behind, open up those chests. Next stretch for our biceps, thumbs up and down. Push your walls away, elongate if you like. Other side. And a next stretch, first one side, with or without additional tension from your arm, you choose what's right for you. Other side. Beautiful. Thank you for joining me. Take a deep breath and have a great day.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us. Can you
That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. All right. Any questions from anyone? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We will be here next Friday. Paul Hunt will join us again to share with us some really valuable information about the importance of strength training for bone density and strength. You're welcome, Barb. Thanks for joining us all the way from Michigan. Glad you could make it. So glad to have all of you here today. Thank you, Peter. Paul had to drop off and make his son lunch, so he'll see us next week. Thanks so much, everyone. You all take care and have a great day.
Thank you for coming.
Bye, everybody.